All right, everybody, we're back. Welcome to Courtroom Insider. It is June 5th, 2025, coming to you live from my uh, uh, glitchy hotel, internet glitchy hotel. We have a lot to talk about today. First day of the Brandon Boudreaux trial for Lori Vallow Daybell. He took the stand. He was not alone. There were 4 other witnesses who took the stand. And what a day it was. We have a lot to talk about tonight. Opening statements from Lori Vallow Daybell and Trina Kay, the Maricopa County Deputy Prosecuting Attorney. Of course, I mentioned that Brandon took the stand along with 4 other witnesses. They really moved through today. We started early. Lunch was shorter than normal, and we went later than normal. It was like 5 days packed into one. Lori has filed another motion for a new judge. We will talk about that, and we will talk about what happens tomorrow, along with answering your questions. We're going to pack it all in here. Thanks for being with us. I'm Nate Eaton. Please let us know where you're watching from if you have any questions. As I was leaving court today, where did I put it? A kind lady who was there handed me a page of her questions that she hand wrote. We'll try to get to a few of those. Another lady slipped me a note. They just met some really amazing people who came to the courthouse today. It was a packed courtroom. People from all over the place were there. So it was definitely a memorable day. The day started with losing a juror. The judge came in, and the elderly gentleman who was a veteran, who was, man, he's probably in his 80s. Just a sweet guy. You could tell he wrote the judge a note, and he said, I'm sorry, I need to be excused. As I was driving home yesterday, I had basically a panic attack. I don't think I can faithfully serve. Please accept my apologies. There was no objection from Lori or from the prosecution. So we are down to 3 alternate jurors and the 12 jurors who were there. The judge said sometimes these things happen, and that's exactly what happened. So after he dealt with the juror issue, we moved on to the opening statements. Trina Kay, well, let me first of all tell you who was in the courtroom. Brandon Boudreaux had a cadre of very of support. He had friends there, family members there. Nancy Jo came from Charles's trial. Remember, she testified. She went on the date with Charles the night before he was killed. She was in the courtroom, and he had 2 rows just full of support. And this is the day that he has been waiting for, this trial, since 2019. Where were you in 2019, 6 years ago? That seems like so long ago. He was 34. He's now 40, 4 kids. And finally, this day has come for him, for his trial to happen. Trina Kay's opening statement was 26 minutes. Lori's was around 15 minutes. Both of them considerably shorter than in Charles's trial. Trina Kay, I'm just going to play how she started, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Jeep Wrangler. The Texas license plate, no rear tire, and dark tint, was parked right up next to Brandon Boudreaux's driveway. Idle. At 9:13 a.m. on October 2nd of 2019, Brandon Boudreaux returned home. That Jeep had been idling there already for over an hour. When Brandon turned onto his street, he immediately noticed this Jeep because it was parked so close to his driveway. The back of the Jeep was facing towards him, and he immediately also noticed that there was no rear tire. He saw a Texas plate on the Jeep, and then he saw that back window of the Jeep open up. A rifle barrel come out and point at him. And then bang! He heard a shot and his window shattered right next to him. Brandon hit the accelerator and he took off. He turned the corner and drove a block or so away and stopped, calling 911. He talked to the operator and told them where this Jeep was going. As Brandon was speaking with the 911 operator, he had no idea that that bullet had struck his car just a few inches from his head. You'll learn that in the back of that Jeep was this defendant's brother, Alex Cox. He had been lying in wait with a rifle for Brandon to return home. This defendant, Lori Vallow Daybell, the woman seated over here, had loaned her Jeep to her brother so he could drive it to Arizona. so he could be in the back of that Jeep with very dark tint that no one could see through and wait for Brandon to return home. The goal of this defendant and her co-conspirators? To shoot and kill Brandon Boudreaux. So let's talk about October 2nd and the weeks leading up to that. All of the actions that this defendant did in furtherance of that conspiracy and the premeditated murder of Brandon Boudreaux. I'm going to start with a little background for you. In June of 2019, Brandon Boudreaux was still married to his then wife, Melanie. You're going to learn that Melanie is this defendant's niece. You're going to learn they were very close. And you're going to learn that they both had it out for Brandon. On June 25th, Brandon and Melanie got into an argument. And Brandon learned that this defendant had told his wife that he was gay, that he had hacked into her computer, and that Brandon was trying to work with her then husband to take her temple recommend away. You're going to learn that many of the people, including Brandon and this defendant, are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And having your temple recommend taken away is a very significant event. You're going to learn and see that Brandon actually texted Lori Vallow on the 25th of June to confront her about these lies, and that she never responded. By July, just a short while later, Brandon and Melanie were seeing a mediator and proceeding through a divorce. You're going to also hear that during this time, Lori Vallow and Alex Cox lived here in Arizona. In fact, Lori lived in Chandler. You're going to hear about an incident that occurred on July 11th of 2019 in Chandler involving Lori Vallow and Alex Cox. The Chandler police were out at this defendant's residence, and they took photographs of some vehicles. One of those vehicles was a 2018 Jeep Wrangler with Texas license plates, LWD 0997. That will be very important to you.
Okay, so we hear about the Jeep there. Now, before we go any further, I've gotten so many questions about who is the woman holding that thing up to her mouth behind Trina. That's the court reporter. Some reporters use the stenographer. She's saying everything that is mentioned there in the court right there. And then it's doing a transcription. I know it can be a little distracting where she's seated, but I can't tell you how many of you emailed or messaged me today about that. Trina K went on to talk about how the window of the Jeep was tinted in Rexburg just weeks before, that Alex and Lori got burner phones at the Idaho Falls Walmart, that Alex drove with the burner phone from Rexburg to Arizona, kept his regular phone with Lori at her apartment in Rexburg, but on that burner phone, he logged into his Gmail account and Google account. So all of his activities was able to be traced. Lori, on the day of the shooting, had Alex's phone call her phone, allegedly, and at her apartment for like 40 minutes so that it looked like they were talking with each other. Lori, on her phone, also searched how to get back seat out of my Jeep on her Google account. Alex, on his phone, searched for places to practice shooting, trajectory of bullets. He also, after the shooting of Brandon, searched Moab, the route back, Fillmore, Utah, eventually Idaho Falls as he worked his way back. Trina K said that there were license plate readers that caught the Jeep's movements. And the storage unit video, we've talked about that. It's never been admitted into trial. Trina K confirmed it's going to be admitted into this trial. And I bet you Detective Hermosillo, this is just me betting, will testify of that video. And we will see the video of them getting the tire in and out and also that seat of the Jeep. Let me see. We're going to see photos of, we're going to see maps. We're going to see photos of the crime scene where it happened. And we're going to talk about how Melanie, or according to Trina K, Melanie knew that Brandon was going to drop off the kids that morning, the morning of the shooting. She did not know he was going to go to the gym. and as Alex lie in wait, that Brandon didn't come home right away. So we'll get into all of that tonight. Well, at least most of it tonight. Then it was time for Lori's opening statement. Boy, was there a lot of objections. We'll play a little clip here in the beginning and then we'll talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, here we are at trial. And the judicial system can be difficult to understand at times. There are laws and rules and statutes that govern how things will proceed in this trial. You yesterday got to hear the preliminary jury instructions, so you kind of got an order of how things are going to go. In order for someone to be charged with a crime, as I have been...
Your Honor, I'm going to object to argument versus an opening statement.
I'll remind the defendant, an opening statement should be a preview of what is to be expected at trial. So go ahead.
That law enforcement presents evidence that they gather, and the state prosecutors are going to present that to you. Sometimes the state charges a defendant with a crime. They have charged me with a crime, a very serious crime. Sometimes they take the allegations to a grand jury to decide if the defendant should be charged.
I'm going to object again, Your Honor. Improper
That's,
argument. Asked to strike.
Hold on. The jury should disregard that last comment. How the charges arrived here are not for the jury's consideration. The prior proceedings are not for the jury's consideration. Please proceed.
The state or the prosecution will then take the information gathered, the evidence from law enforcement, and present to you a story, a theory, their hypothesis of what happened. In this case, the prosecutor was not present during this alleged crime. The Gilbert Police Department was not present during this alleged crime. So it is their job to fill in the gaps, make up a theory, and present it to you, the jury, at trial. This is their job. They are not witness to the actual events because they weren't there that day with Brandon at the house when this alleged shooting occurred. This case is about a conspiracy. And a conspiracy is when two or more people make an agreement to commit a crime. They have to willingly and knowingly participate. Conspiracy is an ancient word that appears in the Bible on many occasions. Judas conspired against Jesus with the chief priests for 30 pieces of silver.
Object to, unless this is being presented at trial, I'm not sure that this is appropriate opening.
What is the legal objection?
You're arguing. The opening statement is not argument. I'm going to allow it briefly, but I may cut you off depending on where you're going with that.
Cain conspired against Abel, his brother. This case is a case of conspiracy. The charge against me is that I conspired with my brother, Alex Cox, to murder my niece's husband, Brandon Boudreaux. But you will find, as you begin to see the evidence put forth in this case, that there was not any animosity between Brandon and myself. I personally did not have any motivation to have harm come to Brandon. In fact, Brandon and I had a very friendly relationship all of the time that I have known him. I first met Brandon when he was marrying my niece, Melanie.
And Your Honor, I'm going to object to, unless the defendant's testifying.
Hold on. Can I have the parties approach briefly?
So the judge called everybody up there. They had a little powwow at the bench, and I'm sure he told her, quit testifying, quit arguing, and get back and do your opening statement about what you're going to present as your defense in the trial. This is how Lori ended her opening statement.
In this case, you will hear a lot of speculation. The definition of speculation is an idea or guess about something that is not known. During this trial, the state will try to convince you that I committed this crime by using speculation, innuendo, and insinuation. And the state is hoping that this will be enough. In this trial, you will in fact witness a power struggle between the state and the defendant.
Your Honor,
for what a fact really is.
Sustain.
Because they want to convince you, the jury, that a fact is speculation, that a fact is innuendo, that a fact is insinuation, that they knew what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I was planning, when they don't know it all. You, the jury, have all the power to decide what the facts are and what they're not. Not the state, not the judge, not law enforcement. You. So I implore you to listen carefully and decide for yourselves if the state's theory really makes logical sense. What motivation did I have? What malice have I ever shown to anyone? What benefit would I gain? I am a person who loves all people and has no malice towards anyone, not even the prosecutors who wrongfully try to convict me.
Your Honor, I'm going to object again to relevance and to argument.
Sustained.
I am all about spreading love and will continue to do so, even after this trial is complete, no matter the result. Thank you.
All about spreading love. That's very reminiscent of her closing argument. Well, her argument when she was sentenced, if you remember. John Thomas in Idaho talked about that Lori is about love. She worked closely with him to prepare that, I would imagine, and then she spoke about Jesus being her friend. We didn't hear anything about her addressing what the prosecutor said or the witnesses she plans to call or her defense, really, other than that her and Brandon had no beef and she was never out to get him. But then Brandon was called to the stand. Now, we talked about this. I wondered if he was going to be the first witness. I didn't know, and I didn't ask him. Rachel Smith said if it was her case, she would have called him, and that's exactly what Trina K did. He was sitting there on the front row with his wife and his supporters. He got up there. He said he's 40. He married Melanie in 2008. They have 4 children. They saw Lori a lot. They would hang out on holidays. They were a very close family. They saw each other at least once a week, he said. And things started to change when Melanie started to hang out more and more with Lori, he testified. Then in July of 2019, they began divorce proceedings or filing for a divorce. And it was finalized in October 2019. This was 3 weeks, 2019. This was 3 weeks, or no, a week or two before Charles was killed. This was 2 months before Brandon was shot at. Brandon's grandfather unexpectedly died, and Melanie didn't want to go to the funeral. And this is what Brandon said during his testimony. Stop.
On June 25th of 2019, I had a long disagreement with my then wife. My grandfather had passed away suddenly of a heart attack a few days earlier, and she had told me she didn't want to go to his funeral, and that had led to the start of a disagreement that quickly changed and was very different than what I thought was going on.
I'm going to have you put your mic just a little closer to you.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. So you said it started out as a conversation about going to your grandfather's funeral,
Yes,
and then it changed into something different?
it did, yes.
During this conversation with Melanie on June 25th, were you accused or told that you had been involved in doing some things to her aunt, Lori Vallow?
I was, yes. This sticks out because it was so bizarre to me. I was trying to talk to my wife about our relationship, and she was using different language that was confusing. She kept saying that she was going to reveal things about me, and it just didn't make sense. And then she accused me of hacking Lori's computer, which I knew I hadn't done, and I didn't know why it mattered to what we were talking about. So, that something like that sticks with you because it's just doesn't connect.
Do you know how to hack into other people's computers?
I do not.
So you're being accused of hacking into Lori Vallow's computer. Did anything get raised during this conversation regarding your sexuality?
Yeah, it was a very long argument. It started in the afternoon and went past midnight. And as things kept escalating, more different allegations that didn't make any sense kept coming up. And one of those was that God had revealed to her that I was gay, and that one stuck out because Charles had told me that that Lori was trying to convince her of that, which I thought was so bizarre. It just didn't make any sense. I was married and we had 4 kids. So.
Did you ever hear anything about allegations that you were trying to help Charles take Lori Vallow's temple recommend away?
It didn't come up in that specific argument, other than as a side mention of why I might have hacked a computer. But yes, I did hear those allegations.
I want to ask you, are you a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
Yes, I am.
Were you and Melanie both practicing members?
We were, yes.
Was Lori Vallow and her family practicing members?
As far as I knew, yes.
When we talk about a temple recommend, what is that?
Inside of our faith, we try to set aside the temple to be a place that's sacred. It's a place where you can be closer to God. And because you want it to be a sacred place, we try to live to a higher standard if we're going to go in there. You know, it's the idea of trying to be more like the Savior's example and keeping promises or covenants that you make to him. And so in that process, most of us self-report to a bishop or an ecclesiastical leader and a stake president or a higher ecclesiastical leader, just to verify that you're doing your best to keep those promises. It's kind of a way to help you assess, to decide if it's a place that you should go, or am I living in a way that I can go and feel good about, you know, trying to get closer to God in that space, and am I living in a way that sets it aside and makes it somewhere special, somewhere sacred.
If someone's temple recommend is removed who is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is that a really significant thing?
For most of us, we would feel like, personally, I would feel that way. It's something that is sacred to me, and it is important. And so I would not want to lose that. It would be something that would reflect that I'm not doing a very good job of my goal to try to be more like my Savior.
So Brandon is accused by Lori, or through Melanie, or whatever he's heard from Charles, that he's working to try to get Lori's temple recommend taken away. If she loses that recommend, she can't go to the temple, which is her favorite place to go. During the argument, which was hours long, Brandon texts Lori, and those texts were shown in court. He turned his phone over to the cops, and they reviewed all of that stuff. And the prosecutor asked Brandon to read those texts. Here's what he sent to Lori the night of that argument.
See on June 25th of 2019 at 6:45 p.m. The first message that you sent? And was this phone number, the 808 number, Lori Vallow's phone number?
Correct.
In the message, what did you tell Lori?
I told her that Melanie believed I helped to try to get her temple recommend taken away, and that we both knew that it wasn't true. Do you want me to just read it?
Sure.
Lori, I sent this to Charles. I'm sending it to you as well. Charles, Melanie believes I helped you to try to get Lori's temple recommend taken away. You and I both know that's not true. She does not believe me. I wanted to send this to both of you, both you and Lori. If either of you care at all for me or my children, you'll come forward and be truthful. I've never done anything to hurt either of you. I can't believe you would lie to her about something like this. I gave you a blessing when you're your worst in my home. My children will be punished if my wife leaves me, or or can't believe me when I have done nothing. This is on your heads to make it right.
So your initial thing was about that temple recommend because that was so important, right?
Yes.
But that was just one of the lies that had been told to you by Melanie.
Yes, and at this time I didn't know that she also believed that I was gay. That came after I had sent these texts.
Did you get a response after this first text?
No.
Do we see then a second text at 9:10 p.m., same day, September 25th?
Yes.
What did you say then?
At least have the respect to talk to me to my face, not whispered behind my back. She believes you and you are lying. This is going to affect my children.
Okay. Did she respond to you then?
No.
And a couple minutes later, did you send Lori another message?
I did.
What did you say then?
I will not stop until the truth is known. It says I didn't dip, but a typo. I didn't do the things you said, and because I know I did not, I will find a way to prove it.
Okay, so he sends those messages. Lori never responded. Brandon went on to testify that he and Melanie decided to get a divorce. They hired a mediator. They were living in $1 million home, and they figured it would be easier if Melanie took the kids and lived in a rental while he stayed at the house because they were showing the home a lot, and to keep the house clean with 4 kids, it can be a bit of a headache. So Melanie moved out with the kids. Brandon stayed at the house. They finally sold the home that was in July. They sold the home in September. They rotated who got the kids. Brandon got them Monday, Tuesday. Melanie got them Thursday. Brandon got them Monday, Tuesday. Melanie Wednesday, Thursday. And then they rotated weekends. And their youngest, who was quite young and didn't go to school, would spend the day with Melanie while Brandon went to work. Brandon found a rental once they sold the house and says that he only told Melanie the address. In fact, they showed the text message where Melanie asked for the address. And this is the map of where Brandon's home was. Right here, where this dot is, you can see, maybe I'll get my little pen out and draw right here. He went on to say, this is important. We saw this map a lot today during the trial because he talked about how he was driving home and this is where he was shot at and how he went through the neighborhood. But this is where the house went. And one weekend, Melanie called and said, do you want to take the kids early? And he did, because she was going out of town to Rexburg. And so he hurried and moved into this house. He wasn't planning to move in as early. He had to hurry and move in. He got a truck and started to load. He said his neighbor saw him loading, asked if he could help. So this neighbor, I think it was 2 neighbors, and then he called 2 of his buddies. They all helped him move. And they are the only ones that knew of the address of this house, except Melanie. And they showed the text in court of Melanie asking where the house was, the address, which of course you'd give to your spouse, you'd give to your ex. So he said that out of everybody in the world, only those 5 people knew. And then the morning of October 2nd, he woke up, he got the kids ready for the day, each one individually, fed them breakfast. He dropped the older 2 off at elementary. He took the third one to pre-K, and then he went to a park where he met Melanie, and the child got out of the car and ran over to Melanie, and Melanie took the kid. And then he went to the gym. He had not told Melanie he was going to the gym. He hadn't told anyone. And that day he had a meeting later on with his business partners. That was what he was going to do for work. Trina K asked him to describe what happened when he came home from the gym.
To you about that morning of October 2nd. You drop off your youngest with Melanie. You said you went and dropped off your 4th child at sort of a day pre-K type of course?
Yeah.
And then you went to the gym.
Yes.
After you went to the gym, what did you do?
I drove back from the gym to my house.
Okay. What was your plan that morning?
My plan was to shower and go to work and meet with my business partners, and we had an owners meeting that day.
Okay. Can you tell us what happened when you turned into or onto Phelps Street that morning?
That morning, I made my usual left onto Phelps Street, and there's one house and then my house, and so it's not like you're driving. You're coming through a turn, so you're not moving super fast, and there's not a lot of distance, so I don't really push the gas very hard. But I remember coming around the corner, kind of letting it almost kind of coast as I was waiting for it to catch the signal and send my my garage door up. And while I was doing that, I noticed a Jeep that was parked, and it was really awkward.
Why was it awkward?
Well, it was parked on top of the car that was normally there. So there's usually a van there, and it was just like parked nose to the van. And it was like, the back of it was almost blocking my driveway. It was parked so you just wouldn't think anyone would choose to park like that. So it kind of stood out to you right as you came around that corner. I noticed it had a Texas plate. The other thing that was awkward about it was no back tire, which Jeeps always have the back tire. That's like their thing. So all of that stood out, right? I mean, you don't have a lot of time when you're coming around a corner like that, but all of that just like, I was like, oh, that's weird. And I remember thinking my neighbor must know somebody from Texas, because I'm new. I don't know anybody yet. And I was like, and man, they parked awkward. Like that's a really crappy park job.
So that we understand, was the Jeep parked sort of the opposite way of traffic?
Yes.
And so when you come around the corner, you're seeing the back of the Jeep.
Correct.
And you said it was nose to nose with a white vehicle?
Yeah, I believe it's a van.
And was that a vehicle you had seen in the few days you had lived there?
Yeah, it had been parked there every day so far.
Okay. So you recognized that one. Was there a lot of other vehicles parked on the street?
No.
Just that Jeep right up to that one and on your driveway?
Correct.
When you were coming in and sort of slowing down, what do you see happen?
So as I let the car kind of coast in, the back window pops up. I see a muzzle. I hear a bang. And your fight or flight kicks in at that point. So for me, I just immediately thought, and my window shattered. All that happened in like the snap of a finger. And so I just immediately thought someone's shooting at me because I saw a muzzle. So I hit the accelerator and I just went straight. I no longer was planning on turning into my driveway to let the garage door trigger. And
I'm going to have you pull your mic just a little bit down again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can lean forward. Could you hear all of that?
So I'm going to go a little bit through it. So you said you saw the rear window open.
Yes.
Is that sort of the window that normally the tire would block from opening?
Yes.
Did you see any hands or anything pushing it open?
I can't say I did. The windows were dark, and I remember it lifting, and I remember seeing a muzzle.
Let's talk about the muzzle. Could you tell, was it a handgun muzzle, a rifle muzzle? What are we talking about?
It looked like a rifle or a long gun. Yes. Also, possibly there was a silencer on it or a suppressor or something, because I remember the muzzle looked a little bit awkward at the end.
Okay.
Brandon knows guns. He has fired guns, he said. He said his family hunts, so he's familiar with guns. He takes off. He then realizes it's time to call 911, obviously, and he goes around and he parks at a pool, which is kind of up and around the corner in the community. As he's parked at the pool on the phone with 911, he sees the Jeep. He knows there's only certain exits in and out of the neighborhood. It's kind of there's not all these exits to get onto main thoroughfares. He sees the Jeep come up, it goes down and leaves the neighborhood. At that point, it was time for lunch, but they sent the jury out, and that's when the judge, we went to lunch, it was an hour today, came back. The judge, there was an issue that Lori was supposed to have access to her attorneys, and she apparently did not. She only had them for 5 minutes, so the judge clarified with the deputy that she needs to see, she's able to go with her attorneys. And then Lori said that she filed another motion to have Boreski booted from the case again. And Judge Bresky's like, oh, okay, well, we'll have to let the superior judge handle that, but we're going to keep moving. She's probably upset. We'll find. I don't have the motion tonight. I think hopefully we'll have it tomorrow, or maybe Monday. She's probably upset that the judge is making her do the trial because she's sick. I would imagine her illness will come into play. There was also discussion that she can have Tylenol, or it's called, I forget what it's called, some other sort of medication that she has at the jail that they didn't let her come over to the courthouse with, I guess. And the judge said that as that is allowed, she can bring that medication over, or painkiller or whatever. After lunch, we heard the 911 call that Brandon made. He talked about it, that he was out of breath. He was scared for his life, an adrenaline dump, I'm sure, as you can imagine, when you get there and you've been shot at. And then he started to second guess himself, like, well, wait, maybe it wasn't a gun, because his window didn't shatter at once. Tesla windows are built into the car. There's not a separate window frame. It's built into the frame of the car, and his car was such that when he put it in park, the door automatically opened. You've seen those doors come up, and when that happened, when he got home, it opened and the glass shattered to the driveway. A big chunk of it stayed together, but the rest fell in and out of the car. So he's thinking, well, maybe it was a paintball gun. He says that in the phone call here. But then he wasn't thinking at the time, well, wait, if it was a paintball gun, there would have been paint. And you're going through your mind, like, who in the world would try to shoot at me? And maybe it was a rock, whatever it was. Anyway, here is the 911 call he made.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
Okay, where
they're in
at?
a Jeep. I'm in the Cooley Station neighborhood. I was pulling in my house at 38755 Eaton. Away, but I can see them driving off.
Okay, someone shot at your vehicle?
Yeah, and it hit my window. It shattered my driver's side window.
Okay, when you pulled into his driveway?
As I was trying to pull into my driveway. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm a little off breath. They just drove off. I saw them drive off.
Okay. Do you know who these people are?
I have no idea. I moved into a new home about a week ago.
What kind of vehicle is it that drove away?
Jeep Wrangler, had a Texas plate on it. It was,
Jeep Wrangler?
It was olive green.
Olive green? Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second. Texas license plate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't get the plate. I'm sorry. I got a little nervous.
That's okay. That's all right. Oh, which way did they go? Do you remember?
They're driving south towards Pecos Road, between Pecos and Wrecker.
Okay. Okay. Do you don't see the vehicle anymore?
No, they left. They drove off.
Did you see how many people were in the Jeep? Sir?
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, did you see how many people were in the Jeep?
There must have been at least two, because somebody shot at me and then somebody else drove off, and I don't think they had enough time to go climb from the back into the front.
Right. Okay. And then do you have any injuries? Did they shoot at you?
They shot at me, it hit my window, it bounced off. It might not have been a real gun. It was loud, but it might have been like a paintball gun or something. It should have hit me or gone through my window. It just shattered it. It didn't go through.
Okay. Okay. And your window is shattered?
Yeah.
Okay. And you have no idea who these people are?
No idea.
Okay.
They were just parked like right in front of my house.
Okay. They were parked out. So they were parked across the street in front of your house?
In front, right on the same side of the street as my house, right in front. There's a minivan there. They're just parked right in front of that.
Okay.
I'm pulling into my house because they're gone.
Okay. Where are you at right now?
In my car.
Where are you at?
In my car at my house at 38
Okay.
East Phelps Street. I'm going to walk over here and see if I can see what they shot at me.
And what kind of car were you in?
I'm in a black Tesla Model X.
It's a black what?
Tesla Model X.
Okay, black Tesla Model X. Okay. Okay. All right. I do have officers on the way to meet you.
Okay.
Do you want to go inside or do you want to wait outside? Wherever you feel.
I'll wait out here. Yeah, I don't know that it was a real gun. Maybe it was. I can't tell. I don't think it was because we should have gone through my window.
Okay. All right. And what is your name?
My name's Brandon Boudreaux.
And your phone number? Okay. Okay. I'm going to stay on the line with you just to make sure you're safe, just in case they come back. Do you have any weapons on you?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do you see the officer pulling up?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. Looks like he's coming up Phelps. You said 3875 East Phelps, correct?
Correct. I wonder if he's on, there's another section of it. He might be on another section.
Okay, because, yeah, his car is showing right near Fisher Lane and Phelps Street.
I'm at, what is the cross street? Sorry, I just moved really quick. Yeah, I'm at Fisher and Phelps. I don't see it.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. It's funny. His car was showing there for a second, and now it's showing back at Higley and Pecos. So that's kind of weird.
Wonder if he saw the Jeep drive off or something.
Maybe. I know that there's actually an officer that's heading towards you, and then there's other officers that are dispatched that are looking for the car. So we've got several guys looking out for the car, but we have one headed towards your house.
The cops ended up getting there.
I think he accidentally hit his arrive button is what happened.
He went in the wrong place. Let me just turn this down here. And then they were able to, start the investigation. Man, I'm impressed how even in the heat of the moment, Brandon was able to keep a cool head. But you can hear in his voice, like he's second guessing, like, well, maybe I wasn't shot at. And of course, you might think that there was two people in that Jeep. And many of you have asked, who was the other person? To this day, police have only said it's been Alex. Maybe we'll learn more during this trial. No one else is charged in connection with it. But Alex likely shot out and then jumped in the seat. The neighbor had said earlier that in other court documents that the seat was pressed right up against the steering wheel. So we saw, let me show you the pictures of the bullets in the car. You see this? It's right here. I'm going to circle it in red. So it hit the frame. Look how close his head would have been. Like an inch or two right there. And then there's a close-up of the bullet. So it went through the frame. They were able to recover it. We'll show you that in a minute. Brandon gets home, and this is after the police arrived, this was the scene. Brandon later learned when asked who might try to hurt him, if anybody, he did say Alex and Lori, because he remembered what had happened in July, a few months earlier, to Charles. The interesting thing is they cannot tell the jury, Trina K cannot tell the jury about that incident. She can refer to it as an incident. She cannot elaborate. She cannot say the shooting death of Charles. The reason she can refer to it is because the Jeep was at that house. And they're going to bring in the fact that that Jeep was registered to Lori. So it's kind of an interesting scenario there that the Jeep was there and now it's being talked about as an incident, but the jurors don't know what that incident is. Brandon later learned that Melanie moved to Rexburg to be near Lori and Alex, and she moved right next door to them. Then the state was done asking questions. Lori was not prepared for this witness, which it's interesting because she's had extra days because she was sick. They couldn't get a hold of her private investigator. She said her private investigator has all of her files on Brandon. They emailed him, they called him, her advisory team could not reach him. So Lori asked if they could take it out of order and she could question Brandon tomorrow. So that's going to happen tomorrow morning. Trina Kay had to reshuffle all of her witnesses because of that. It will be interesting to see the cross-examination on Brandon and what type of questions Lori asks him. Will she take the approach she did with her brother, Adam Cox, or Kay? Kay, she was more mild. She asked a couple questions and that was it. Adam, she was a bit more pointed. I imagine it's going to go the Adam route. But we know already tomorrow that we're going to hear the cross-examination of Brandon Boudreaux. Now, after Brandon's testimony, Elizabeth Collins was called. She was a very short witness. Lori had no questions for her. She owned the home that Brandon signed the lease with. And so because of that, they showed the lease agreement that showed Brandon was indeed staying there, that he listed his 4 children. Elizabeth said there'd never been any issues in the neighborhood. It was a safe neighborhood, no violence, nothing like that. And then the neighbor, Robert Abitamarco, testified. He lives across the street. He also said it was a quiet neighborhood. There was never any issues. And there was always a white van. I'll show you. This white van right here that was parked across the street from his house all the time. And he knew when he backed out of his driveway, he had to be careful that he didn't hit that van. Here's his part of his testimony.
Where are you going?
I was going to the EOS gym on Higley and Pecos for a 9 o'clock appointment.
Okay. How far away, how long would it usually take you to get there?
5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. So you gave yourself a little room to get in there and get ready?
Yes.
At that time in 2019 at this residence, did you usually park in your garage or your driveway?
The driveway.
Okay. I'm going to put up, if I can have my paralegal approach with exhibits 5 and 7.
Go ahead.
So if you can look at these 2 photos and let me know if you recognize these exhibits, what they're photographs of.
Yes.
Are those photos of sort of the street and neighborhood where you lived on Phelps back in 2019?
Yes.
The state will move to admit exhibits 5 and 7.
No objection.
They're admitted.
You told us that when you lived on this street that sometimes you'd see the same vehicles there. Was there any vehicle on sort of the opposite side of Phelps Street that you would regularly see and you would have to pay attention to when you were exiting your driveway?
Yes.
What was that?
There was a van owned by my neighbor who parked generally across from my driveway or a little off.
Okay. I'm going to put up exhibit 5. Do you see a van in this photograph?
Yes.
Is that the van you're talking about?
Yes.
So this white van here.
Yes.
Are you able to show us in this photograph or describe for us where your house or driveway was located?
The house is what's seen at the far left of the image, the beige colored house, and the driveway would be right where you're indicating.
Okay. So this was your driveway right here.
Yes.
And so you would often have to kind of pay attention to this white van so you didn't go out and bump right into it?
Yes.
On the morning of October 2nd, did you get in your car to leave and notice any other vehicles that morning?
Yes.
I'm going to put up exhibit 7. In this photograph, is your driveway here?
No.
It's one over.
Yes.
Okay, so we can't see your driveway. This would be your neighbor's house.
Yes.
Where did you see another vehicle that stood out to you the morning of October 2nd around 8:40 in the morning?
Parked in front of the white van, nose to nose, where that tree is.
And that's where the Jeep was. it is so fascinating to me once again that here's this regular dude who's now a witness in this huge case, this case that spans states and years and children who have died, murdered, Idaho. It's crazy. Imagine you happen to drive out of your driveway one morning and you notice an unusual car there, and boom, you're in a courtroom 6 years later testifying about it. Also, a good lesson for all of us to keep our eyes open to things unusual. The fact that it was parked so close to that van, that it was parked the opposite direction, that it was running, that the windows were tinted, all of that, things that this guy remembered, the Texas plates in Arizona. It's always the alert people that catch on to it. Lori did not have any questions for this witness either. The next witness, we're going through these, was Detective Nolan McDermott from the Gilbert Police Department. He went to the scene. He talked about observing the glass, not only in the driveway, but they found a shard of it in the streets. We saw some more photos of the scene. This is the shard that was on Brandon's seat. And Lori, in her cross-examination of him, this was a shard of the bullet. What they did was they took the frame of the door and they pulled it back, and they were able to get metal fragments from the bullet, and they were able to collect those. Lori tried to insinuate that maybe it was a tire iron that hit and made that hole and caused something around the frame. Not really sure where she was going, but I do know that Detective McDermott said that they brought in a metal detector and they searched the streets to find any sort of bullet fragments that came from the gun. They did not, other than the fragments that were in the gun. They did find some glass in the road that matched the glass from the Tesla. So almost as if he was driving, maybe when the bullet hit, the glass fell down, or when he returned home, likely when it hit, is when it happened. He served a search warrant. They got a search warrant for the Jeep. Once the Jeep was found in Idaho, fast forward, once it was found in Idaho a month or so later, they obtained a search warrant, and inside that Jeep, which was at the scene, showed receipts for Taco Time in Idaho Falls and another place in Idaho Falls. And there was other stuff inside. Here is some of the cross-examination that Lori had for Detective McDermott.
Tell us what we see here.
Excuse me, this is Trina.
This is Mr. Boudreaux's vehicle. It's parked in the driveway facing south. The driver's side of the vehicle is facing away from us in this particular image.
Did you note any damage on the passenger side of Mr. Boudreaux's vehicle?
I did not.
We see in 22 the rear of his vehicle.
Correct.
Did you note any damage there?
I did not.
Were you looking for damage to see if there were any other gunshot holes in this car?
Yes.
Now, as you got to the driver's side, and you put up at 23 and then 24, did you notice anything on this vehicle?
Yes. There was damage on the vehicle frame, kind of directly above the driver's side door and where the window would have been.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of do some closers up. 26?
Yes. The damage, again, being on that kind of the top end of the vehicle frame above where the driver's side door and window would be.
And 27? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, this is just a closer image of that same damage.
Okay, so that was not Lori cross-examining, obviously. I wanted to show you the photos of the damage to the Tesla. I showed you the bullet fragment that was there that they pulled off. They also showed this. They were able to get a warrant for the Nissan Rogue. Lori objected to relevance in this. Why admit this Nissan Rogue that was registered to Lori and Alex? Well, the reason is because this Rogue was at the surveillance, that was at the storage unit in Idaho in Rexburg. We saw it on tape. Remember that? If you missed our episode about a week ago, go back and watch it. I went through all of the security footage, and we see this Rogue that was at that storage unit. So Trina is building the case in case there's any argument that this wasn't Lori at the storage unit. That car registered to her was there, and they likely will show the plate and all of that. Lori did have a chance to cross-examine Detective McDermott. Here's some of her questioning.
There was a picture that we looked at that had the one piece of glass in the street. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And then could that piece of glass have been moved by someone's shoe accidentally from people walking around in that scene?
It's possible.
Because there weren't any more pieces besides one piece of glass in the street. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then was that glass in any way, that one piece of glass, was it tested to see if that was actually part of the window from the Tesla?
No.
Could you tell if it was part of the window from the Tesla?
All I could say is it appeared consistent with the other evidence we had referenced that window on scene, but I can't tell you definitively if that one shard was from that window.
Like if it was the same color as most of the other shards?
It did appear to be the same color and was consistent with the rest of the shards that we observed on scene.
But it could have been from a Coke bottle kicked in the street or anything else like that?
I can't say that's not possible, yes.
And so did you use the location of that one piece of glass to try to determine where the Tesla was located at the time of the shooting?
That was one factor, yes.
But if it had just been kicked over there or moved accidentally on the bottom of someone's shoe, then it wouldn't indicate anything. Is that correct?
I mean, I'd have to concur that it's possible.
So all the pieces of glass that fell out, would that be consistent in your understanding? Wouldn't there be more than just one tiny little piece if there was a bullet explosion?
I can't answer that definitively to tell you one way or the other. I don't know how the physics of that would happen, so I don't know if I could honestly answer that for you.
You can watch all of the testimony from today on our YouTube channel. Her cross-examining, as I mentioned, there's 5 witnesses. The last witness from today was Detective David Frerer. He didn't finish up. He got through the prosecution's phase. Lori started to question him, and we'll pick it up tomorrow. So I don't have any clips from him tonight. His testimony was pretty similar to this other detective. He also arrived at the scene, talked about looking for the bullet fragments, pulling back the frame of the car and pulling them out. Pretty similar testimony, basically going through these steps they took during the investigation. Brandon was there with his friend. He called a couple of friends. He didn't have any family members to call. Was in the process of this divorce. 2 of his friends came over. They went and sat under a tree and just kind of put the pieces together. And shortly thereafter, this didn't come out in the trial, but shortly thereafter is when Brandon fled and hid out for his safety with his parents in Utah. So that is today. I feel like I've been going a million miles a minute because we've had, some slower days this week and last week, but man, today they just went through these 5 witnesses. Tomorrow, this is what's going to happen. The day will begin 9:30 Arizona time. So we're an hour ahead. We're starting early. 10:30 Mountain time tomorrow is when you can read the updates. And then at 11, we'll post the videos. I'll put all that on my Facebook page. And you can, from there, the first witness will be David Frerer, the detective. Lori will finish cross-examining him. Brandon will then be back on the stand for cross-examination from Lori. Lori wanted to know the rest of the witnesses. Trina Kay said she wasn't quite sure. She had to go back and juggle everybody because she had to clear out the morning. Lori was irritated by that, saying, I should have a right. The judge said, technically, you don't have a right. It's a courtesy, and you should be prepared, basically. And then we'll see how late tomorrow goes, and then we're back. But if things continue to go like this, prosecutor had 22 witnesses they said they would call or refer to. They went through 5 today. If they're able to get out another 3 or 4 tomorrow, you've got half of it done. They go Monday, maybe they rest Tuesday. Just jumping ahead, just pure speculation, which a reporter should never do. So I hope that you got all that. As I said, you can watch it all on our YouTube channel. I want to thank newspapers.com. They are our sponsor. If you're brand new and wondering what I'm talking about, newspapers.com is a website that has over 1 billion newspaper pages from around the world. You can go in and search for crime stories, search for unique, weird, crazy stories. You can go back and read the O.J. Simpson trial from day one if you want, from the second he was arrested through it. And it's actual like newspaper pages. So they are making it possible so I can be here every day during this trial, reporting to you, helping defray the cost of being here. And so big thanks to newspaper.com. They're offering you a 20% off code. Go to newspapers.com/Nate, Nate. And you can also get a 7-day trial if you want, and try it out. Explore. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun website. Okay, here we go. We got some a lot of shout outs tonight. Many of you at court were like, hey, can I get a shout out? Here we go. Chantel Steiner from Billings, Montana. I met the kindest woman. I was at lunch today with my buddy who came in from Idaho and came to the trial with me. And he actually is a good friend of ours. We went to Chipotle. And as I was eating lunch, this kind woman came over from Montana who was at the trial, and she gave me a Chipotle gift card. And I'm going to use every cent of this. So thank you so much. 2 women, actually. It was 2 of them together. She was so nice. We also have a shout out to Linda O'Gara from Minnesota. Brett says, my wife and I got to meet you for a second time today. She's a big fan of yours. Could you please give her a shout out? Tiffany Wallace from Phoenix. I remember Tiffany. We got a picture in front of the courthouse today. Sherry Gronkowski and Dustin wish Wendy Bristol of Nampa a happy 70th birthday. Well, happy birthday, Wendy. I hope you celebrated with a Wendy's Frosty. Sue from Nova Scotia, Mrs. Whitlock from Santa Clara, Utah, Kelly Ray from Baton Rouge, Tiffany Wallace from Arizona, who just emailed me and said that it's National Donut Day tomorrow. Amazing. Court starts early. I don't know if I'll have time to get donuts. I got to get a donut somewhere and bring you with me. Maybe I'll leave super early, and maybe I'll do a live stream driving to a donut store tomorrow. There's a few nearby. And guess what? I'm going home tomorrow night, so maybe we'll have donuts when I get home. Lulu from New South Wales, Australia. Golly Gator from Florida. Golly Gator. I wonder if that's your real name. Melissa from Kaiser, Oregon. Patrice Erickson from Bountiful, Utah. Michael Jepson from Fruitland, Idaho. Michael Jepson, thanks for watching. Melissa Eckersell from Rigby, Idaho. Eckersell, I know the Eckersells, the funeral home. Mike Petty, Sharon Jepson from Burley, Idaho. Sharon, I met your niece today. I didn't meet her. I've known her. I saw her again today. Aunt Susan from American Fork. Charlie McThewen from the UK. Arlo Nelson from Idaho Falls. His wife passed in 2023, and you all have been watching me from the beginning. Thank you so much. You're so kind. Tatum would like to shout out Brian and Gilbert, Charlie, Barrow, Jay Neal, Kat Smith, Denise Oliver, Kokomo, and Teresa. And Alana Bonifello, hello from Helena. I've been watching the case since Tyler and JJ went missing and looking in Yellowstone. Thank you all so much. Let me get to your questions. Here we go. Susan, why is Lori never referred to as a serial killer? Well, I guess you could. She's been convicted of killing, well, technically murdering 2 and then conspiring to murder 2 others. If she's found guilty here, that will be 5. You could say serial killer. Kelly, who's paying for Lori's defense? I know she's representing herself, but hard advisors don't work for free. The taxpayers are paying for the defense. That's how it is. Just one moment. Someone's asking me what time we start tomorrow too. So you are paying for her defense. The taxpayers are. And that's that. Is Kay Woodcock testifying in this trial? She is not, but she is there every day. She's sitting with Brandon and his family, or at least she has been every day, but she's not on the witness list. Cindy says, I love watching your live updates. I just need help. You're on so many social medias. I don't know where to find you when you go live. I turned on all my notifications, but I don't seem to be notified when you go live. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this because a lot of people ask. I would say the best place for you to watch is our YouTube channel. So look at my screen if you can. Go to youtube.com/East Idaho News. And there is our channel. I'm going to make this bigger. When you go here, you will see there's a bunch of buttons: videos, shorts, live, playlist, post, store. When we're live, it's going to be there. And I'm live every night at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. I'm also live in the morning. I don't know whenever I'm going to court. If you subscribe, which I can't show you here, I'm going to log out so that you can see what it'll look like on your end. So East Idaho News YouTube, complete with typos and everything. Now my computer froze, I think, because I spelled it wrong maybe. Here we go. Why isn't that working? Okay, let me get it. I was going to show you how it is. It's real simple. Just subscribe to our channel and then hit the bell. And when you hit the bell, you should get a notice every time we go live. I get an email every time we go live, and my phone buzzes so that I have an email. There we go. Okay. You will see subscribe right there at the top. I'm sorry if you can't see this. I'll make it full and try to zoom in as much as I can. Right there, subscribe. Once you hit that, there'll be a little bell that you can click, and that's when you will get notified. You can also click the live tab there. This will show you all of our lives. So I'm live right now. We have 8,700 watching. Thank you very much. Day one of the trial was live earlier. You can watch it there. This is when I was walking into court today. This was last night's Courtroom Insider. Then if you click videos, this was my lunch update. I couldn't go live at lunch because we were streaming the trial because we were behind. But this is where you can watch the rest of our videos. I hope that that makes sense and that you can find me. The best thing to do is for you to subscribe to East Idaho News, and then you'll be good to go. And while I'm at it, I'm going to, if you want, we're 40 subscribers away from 50,000 on Meetin' the Eatons. That's our family channel. Erica's been on there right now chatting with people. So if you want to subscribe to that, I'll appreciate that because y'all are so awesome. That's Meetin' the Eatons. I'm going to show you where we're at now for subscribers because we did this last time and it was so much fun. This is our live count. East Idaho News, we have 245 subscribers right now. If someone subscribes right now, this will change. So I'm going to keep this screen up for a minute. There we go. We got one. 246, 47. Yay. Can we get to 250? 8. We're almost there. We're almost there. 249. I wish I could know who 250 is. There we go. Because I'd send you a donut. 251. Maybe we'll get to 520,000 by the end of today. But we'll see if maybe we'll get to 519, 300. Sorry, I get so much amusement out of this. I'm going to keep it on here while we'll do this. I'll be in the screen for you. We'll watch the screen. Nate, people are saying that Colby was never officially adopted by Joe Ryan. Do you know if that's true? I've not seen any documents, but I don't know. I'll ask him. Where is Melanie now? Mary Lou asks. Melanie Pulowski lives here in the area and is married and raising her kids. The prosecutor did say today that she was a co-conspirator, but she's not being charged. Should Trina K have brought up a motive? Because there certainly was one, Daisy says. They might get to that, but you don't have to prove a motive in a court of law. There does not have to be a motive proven. It just is what it is. You can, and they probably will get to that with money, maybe down the line, but so far there's not. Oh, look at that. We just surged 267. We got to get to 300, you guys. 270. Carolyn says, was it your let go this morning before court started? I don't know what that means. Peggy, do you know what that means? Was it let go this morning before court started? I think you mean, was a juror let go? And yes, a juror was let go. Why didn't Lori have to stand up for the jury yesterday? Did she stand today? She did stand today. She didn't have to stand because she was ill, I imagine, and the judge told her that she could just stay seated there, and it made it, I guess, easier for them. Guys, we're almost there. 519, 300. We got to do it. Why did the white noise play during sidebars actually sound like? Does it really block people from hearing things? Yes, we hit 300. Thank you all so much. I'll leave it up there. You want me to leave it up there? That's probably better than my face. The white noise sounds like white noise out of a noise machine. Shh. That's what it sounds like in the courtroom. And it really does prohibit you from hearing. My friend today said it really does block everything out. You can't hear it. So that's good. Jenna, why does the court reporter have a little microphone up to her mouth? We talked about that. Michelle, when I listened to Lori's opening statement, there were so many objections. How come her standby lawyers did not read her statement before and advise her a lot she was not supposed to say? Or is it because they did and she does not care, she will do what she wants? I think it's kind of she'll do what she wants. I'll go back to this in a minute, guys. 322 right now. Will we get to 400? That would be amazing. Pam says, I noticed a woman in front of the jury during her opening statement with a large microphone which covers her mouth. I've never witnessed this before. I talked about that earlier. It is the court reporter who's saying everything. This is going to be more of a question of your opinion, but do you think that after everything has gone on and been told in court that Lori still believes that her Aunt Lori and Uncle Alex are innocent? I don't think she thinks her aunt and uncle are innocent. All right, last question. Nate, or Mr. Eaton, I've become familiar with your coverage of the trials involving Lori Daybell with somewhat mixed impressions. After much experience, one might have expected more development of presentation and journalistic skills. In my opinion, your focus on the trials and accompanying narrative has come to include a bit too much emphasis on your personal information and extraneous, generally unrelated coverage. Having spent quite a number of years as a journalist and newscaster, my impression, I think you mean, is that you need to approach your presentation with a little more professional attitude. Mel. Well, I'm sorry, Mel, that it is very fact-based, nothing personal into that. But when I do go live here on video, yes, I do throw in personal stuff. Like my son graduating from preschool today. He did graduate. I missed it. I was sad. I'm going home tomorrow. And I do want to be a bit personal, but I guess if you all don't like that, maybe I can talk less about my personal life. But I appreciate your feedback. I do, Mel, and I'm glad you're watching. All right, let me go here to our final count before I go for the night. 351. Okay, tomorrow we'll check in and see if we're at 520. Again, tomorrow we have the final, the day on there. And did you lose me? Okay, I think we're back. I think we froze. And we are back. Here's where you can find me. If you can see me, I hope you're still here. I went too long and the internet's kicking me off. But here is where you can find me if you want to keep up to date all week long. There we go. Insta, Twitter, X, Facebook, and YouTube, eastidahonews.com. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great night. We'll be back tomorrow night. We'll be back in the morning for the courtroom, the live courtroom Insider tomorrow night. Have a good night.